good work, but why in the world is he drinking the Donald Trump Kool-Aid, man? I just don't understand it.
Dude, evangelical Christians voted for Donald Trump at 81%.
I
81%.
understand. I know, man. I
It's all
know.
about the Supreme Court, and there are plenty of them who, while they may not vocalize it, believe that what Donald Trump believes and wants to do is how things should be.
Dude, and I watched that Alex Jones interview tonight
Did you?
on Mike and Kelly's show.
Well, how's that?
Um, he's a nut job, and she did a good job of
Making sure that we knew that.
Yes, of portraying him as the nut job that he was.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just
and she had one of the Sandy Hook parents on there also, and they made sure that you know you knew he was a nut job.
I just, you're playing with fire when you start putting Alex Jones on mainstream platforms.
Well, her point was, and this is the point that she opened the show with, is this guy, and he wants to deny it, okay, but because he talks it up on his radio show,
mm-hmm.
and then when he gets with somebody like Melanie Kelly, he's like, oh no, that's we've just talked a couple times,
yeah.
But when you play the radio clips, okay, which she did, you realize how often and she played clips, from his radio show about how often he and Donald Trump have talked,
mm-hmm.
and they show clips where, here's what was said on his radio show, and then here, a day later, here's what Donald Trump said, and it's almost verbatim.
Right.
Okay, so this guy has influence with the president of the United States of America, and he's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was her point in doing the interview with him.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was like that instead of trying to normalize what Alex Jones is.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It wasn't. No.
And I'm still worried because for as much as people have decried this interview, it's going to be the highest rated Sunday night program they had on NBC this year.
I don't know, man. The Putin interview got pretty high ratings.
There was a Putin interview?
Yeah, she interviewed Putin a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't even know that. But you're playing with fire when you put Alex Jones on a platform like that. You used to, you could just ignore that far fringe, left and right, both sides. You could just ignore it, and they didn't have a platform, and maybe they, it's like the John Birch Society from the 60s. You just strangle it, and you keep it over there in its corner. But now in the age of the internet, that's harder to do. And when you start putting them on NBC and giving them press passes to the White House, I don't know how you.
And that was her point: is you don't need to ignore it because they're already there.
Yeah, I understand that too, and I agree. At some point, Alex Jones has become mainstream or mainstream enough that you have to acknowledge it and then begin to fight it with a different tactic. And I don't know how you do that. These Republicans are so entrenched, dude. I read an article from a local newspaper just this week. These people they're all in.
Yeah.
That people are asking them these questions. What would it take for you to turn on Donald Trump? And the response is for him to work with Democrats.
Yeah, I know.
Anything else? Nah, they're all in.
I know.
So, I don't know how you fight that.
Dude, I understand.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about politics, or not politics, comic books.
Yep.
I did not get a chance to read that Brian Michael Bendis interview.
Don't worry about it. I got it, man.
We were kind of busy last night at work, so
don't worry about it.
I did have a chance to glance through a bunch of this disassembled stuff. So,
dude, I read like 30, 40 issues of it. So,
You got the intro? You ready to go?
Dude, I'm ready to go, man.
Cool.
Oh,
We
hang
can't-
on.
Yeah.
I do want to set a timer, though.
Okay. I read all of Unworthy Thor.
It's good, isn't it?
I bought it during that Amazon sale.
Yeah.
And read every issue of it.
I really want to know who that is that picks up the hammer at the end.
I have an idea.
Well, who do you think it is?
Ultimate Thor.
Think so?
It wouldn't be the first time they've brought back one of the ultimate, one of the ultimates. They're doing it right now in Secret Empire.
Yeah. I don't know who that is, though. I don't think that's who that is.
We'll see.
There was a lot of speculation this week about who that is. Because there was other people that joined in there this week.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Yeah, it got really weird this week. Not weird. It got interesting.
Okay.
All right, ready whenever you are.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hello again. This is the What's Next podcast. I'm Pat.
And I am Sean.
And we're here to discuss the Marvel Unlimited app and all the great things that are in it. We're the guys that bring you the 6 Month Behind podcast, and we're just here to expand your horizons of all the great things you can read. How you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm all right. We're here again this week to discuss the great adventures that await you inside the Marvel Unlimited app if you can figure out how to operate it. This week, I should say, we're going to discuss Brian Michael Bendis's Avengers Disassembled, the New Avengers. It's a great run. You said you're doing well. I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The website is. Go ahead. I heard it didn't take a breath. You were going to say something.
Let's start from the top.
Okay,
Yeah, because I really didn't care for that intro. I'll be honest.
that's fine. I thought it sucked too, but I was working my way through it.
Yeah. Let's start from the beginning. I was sitting there hesitating whether I should do that or not, and then I was like, yeah, let's start it over.
Dude, never hesitate to stop and say do it again.
Okay.
It should be the intro of you and I, then what we're talking about. I always struggle with this intro. It's the What Next podcast, then you and I.
Mm-hmm. Guys from the 6 Months Behind podcast. Website,
and then what we're
email.
talking about. Then what we're talking about this week.
Well, let's hit the website and email first, and then what we're talking about. Because we start talking about, we're talking about this week, and then we go into email, and I feel like that stops the momentum. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, That's why if you're looking at the notes, it's actually spelled out at the top. That's how much trouble I struggle with this opening.
Dude, I literally write out the synopsis in all my notes for every book I review. So, I ain't gonna bust you up for literally writing out the intro.
Yeah, I struggle with this opening for some reason. I don't know why. It's different from the other one, and I just struggle with it.
Yeah, well, it's new. We're still getting used to it.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Ready. Hit it.
3, 2, 1.
Hello again. This is the What's Next podcast. I'm Pat.
And I am tired. I'm also Sean.
Well, there you go. We're the guys from the 6 Month Behind podcast, and we're here to discuss with you, about what to read next in the Marvel Unlimited app. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. Doing pretty good. Can't complain, really.
There you go. The website is www.6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
No, that's the email. Let's start from the top again.
Shit.
It's okay.
Oh, God. This rate, we're going to be here at 3 a.m.
No, listen. It'll be fine. Also, I'm very flimmy. Allergies have been killing me the last couple days. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Hello again. This is the What's Next podcast. I'm Pat.
And I am tired. I'm also Sean.
We're the guys from the 6 Months Behind podcast. We're here to discuss to you the great reads that are in the Marvel Unlimited app that you can expand your mind for only $9.99 a month with. How you doing, man?
I can't complain. Tired, but other than that, it was a rough week at work.
There you go. And this is like, our only extra attempt at this intro, so we're doing good, man.
Yeah, we're doing real good.
There you go. The website is www.6monthsbehind.com. The email is...
If you want to email us, it's 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Please also give us a follow on Twitter at 6monthsbehind. That's at 6monthsbehind. We actually got a couple of new followers on Twitter this week.
There you go. I think I saw one of them. Yeah, that's cool. I need to remember to put something there so they can actually follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. This week we're discussing Brian Michael Bendis's Avengers Disassembled and his new Avengers. And it's a very interesting read. You were going to say something and I cut you off.
Well, I was going to ask you what we were discussing this week. The focus of this show is to tell you what is worth reading, what you should be reading in the Marvel Unlimited app. And Brian Michael Bendis's Avengers Disassembled and then subsequently the new Avengers, I think is really the marker of the modern Avengers era.
Here's the thing. Me, I really get into researching this. And for people who haven't listened to this before, we rotate weeks. You take a week, then I take a week. So I'll have 2 weeks to research my next podcast. So I had 2 weeks to research this one and think about it and then get all my information together. And I looked at it and I'm always looking at the numbers. And sometimes I just glance at the numbers. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then sometimes I glance at the numbers and I find things buried inside the numbers. And then I look for more numbers. And there are interesting things inside the numbers when you start looking at this Avengers, this some of the new Avengers. And we're going to talk about them a little bit. And we're talking about them a little bit later too.
Are you talking about sales numbers?
Sales numbers, Marvel stock numbers.
Okay.
All of it. I mean, there's interesting numbers here, and we're going to discuss them as we go. When Joe Quesada arrived at Marvel in 99, 2000, Marvel,
he'd been there longer than that.
He'd been an artist. He'd been an artist, but no, it was 98, 99, and because they were literally bankrupt. They were honest to God bankrupt.
Yeah, all those early X-Men and Spider-Man movies from the early 2000s that you guys love. Yeah, it's because Marvel needed money, so they sold the licensing to their characters.
Yeah. They sold it to Sony, and they sold the Fantastic Four to Fox.
Yeah,
just sold it because they needed the money. And when they hired Brian Michael Bendis, they were literally bankrupt. And there's an article that'll be posted to the link for this on the website. And he literally talks about the first time he went to the publishing studios, the first time he went to the Marvel buildings. He'd heard about the bullpen with Stan Lee and heard about everything that happened there. He pictured it as a kid when he was growing up. And he said it was literally just an empty building, with boxes just piled up everywhere and filing cabinets boxed. It looked like a building that was going broke and was bankrupt because they were. And it, that's what Joe Quesada and the new owners hired him for, was to resurrect this. So he began with the Ultimate line. And if you looked at where Marvel was at this point, DC was just kind of just destroying them in sales. They didn't want them having great sales because they were coming off the great comic crashes, but DC was doing much better. So they started with the Ultimate line. Of course, Brian Michael Bendis wrote Ultimate Spider-Man. It was a huge hit. Mark Millar came along behind him and wrote the Ultimates themselves. Brian Michael Bendis was also writing Ultimate Team Up. All of these books were doing huge numbers for Marvel. They were doing great numbers.
Yeah.
Bendis and Believe took over the Daredevil series because Kevin Smith was writing it and he couldn't get the book in on time. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, that was. I like Kevin Smith, but I don't know that comic book writing was ever his forte.
It was a great story. It was a very good story. It was just he just couldn't get it in on time.
Yeah. Well, that guy smokes a lot of dope, so
Yeah, it messes with his concept of time.
I suppose.
Yeah. So they went to Bendis and said, "Hey, what do you think of retooling the Avengers?" Now, at the time, Mark Bagley was writing it. I'm a big Mark Bagley fan.
Me too.
And he had a good run on it.
Wait, Mark Bagley?
Yeah, I think it was Bagley.
Bagley's the artist. Wasn't Mark Waid?
Mark Waid, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think Bagley was drawing it. I think it was Wade Bagley doing it.
Yeah, might have been.
Anyway, it was a great run. It was like 70, 80 issues, really good. A lot of Kang stuff. Matter of fact, that's when Carol Danvers got pregnant, had a kid. Yeah, she's got a kid running around somewhere. I don't know. It's screwed up in time with what's Kang's son's name? He's in that new Avengers book Avengers book came out this week. The Scarlet Centurion, I think.
Well, no, the Scarlet Centurion's another version of Kang. He's a past version of Kang.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, he and
all of them are past versions.
He and Carol Danvers have a son. It ran through that whole series. It was really a good read. It really was. I'm downplaying it, but the numbers were awful. Okay, I mean it was selling. When the top selling books were selling 80, 90, 100,000 a month, this thing was selling 40, 50,000 a month. So they went to Brian Michael Bendis and said, "Hey, can you fix this?" And he was like, "Well, how much do you want to fix?" And they was like, "Do whatever you want to do." Yeah. And he was like, "Okay, doing whatever I want to do is doing whatever I want to do." And they said,
"I'm going to smash it and rebuild it."
And they were like, "Take the whole universe and smash it and rebuild it." And he was like, "You sure you want to do this?" Because, and it's funny, if you read this article, when he wrote Ultimate Spider-Man, it was the first time in his life he had ever been universally loved. He was like the conquering hero of the Marvel universe, and everybody loved him. It was pretty funny.
He saved Spider-Man. What's not to love?
He saved Spider-Man. He was saving Marvel. Okay, yeah. He was literally saving them from bankruptcy. Okay, that's how much cash he was generating from Marvel. So they went to him and they said, "Dude, you want to fix it?" And he was like, "Sure, I'll fix it." So in 4 issues, he destroys the mansion, writes Avengers Disassembled. This is in Avengers. They renumbered it. It became 500 through 504. He kills Hawkeye, Clint Barton, the Vision, and Ant-Man, Scott Lang. He drives Wanda Maximoff insane and breaks up the team.
And destroys the mansion.
And destroys the mansion.
Yeah.
Which still isn't being used. I don't think. Maybe it is. I think it's a hotel now.
Well, it's like a theme resort kind of thing.
Yeah,
almost like a museum.
I think the Mighty Avengers might have used it for a while, but then it got destroyed again, and now it's a museum or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in 4 issues, he made Scarlet Witch a villain, had her kill her husband, had her kill Hawkeye, who's like one of the fan favorite heroes of all time, and just wrecked everything. And he was instantly, we're talking death threats. We're talking, dude, people hated his guts. And then he created the New Avengers, which was a lineup that people had never seen before. Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, the Sentry, Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain America. And it was an instant hit. And when I say it was an instant hit, the first issue sold 150,000 copies. And the first issue of anything sells well. That's why we get so many number 1s.
Right.
The trick is, does it stay up there? And after the first issue of 150,000, that thing stayed between 100 and 120. Stayed there. Mm. So we're talking a book that was doing 40 to 60,000 a month. And he instantly, in 6 months, took it to 100 to 120,000 copies. It just got quick.
I mean, he basically doubled it.
He doubled it instantly.
Yeah.
At the same time, Mark Millar, they had a editorial meeting, and Mark Millar did the House of M. which started about issue 6 or 7 with the X-Men and Avengers, where the whole Scarlet Witch thing. I'm sure we'll do it sometime.
Actually, yeah, because I'm going to focus on it because I'm doing a bunch of X-Men stuff, and I'm going to focus on it here shortly.
So that between House of M and the Avengers, they completely rewrite the landscape. Mark Millar and Brian Michael Bendis completely rewrite the landscape of the Marvel Universe. That you go from 50 million mutants, where they killed 60 million in Genosha. They took everybody that's left, but 198 and depower them.
Yeah,
just that quick. Quick. So between Avengers Disassembled and House of M, the two of them completely reshaped the Marvel Universe. House of M posts the same numbers that this new Avengers book does. And they're just off the races. From there, you get the Illuminati, which are introduced in issue 7. You get Civil War, which, do we need to say anymore? It's Civil War. I mean, they made a movie out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most famous Marvel comic event that there's been.
Yes, there's Secret Invasion. I mean, the whole series, I think it's 80 some odd books. The whole series is just, it's amazing. You created the Sentry, who I reread up to like issue 21, I think. I reread House of M. I reread part of Civil War. This is just a masterpiece. And while they were doing it, they reshaped what the Marvel Universe was. Now, here's the thing. When they took over the Marvel Universe, when they went to, and it was really 4 guys, okay? It was really Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Quesada, Greg Pak at the same time was writing the Hulk. And you have Planet Hulk and then World War Hulk. Because the Illuminati, where did the Illuminati come from? Well, that came from Brian Michael Bendis, okay? The Illuminati took the Hulk and shot him off into space, okay? That leads to Planet Hulk and World War Hulk. So these 4 guys reshaped the Marvel Universe. You got all these sales figures that these books are generating. When they took over in 2004, Marvel stock was at about $3.50 a share. By 2006, it was up to $32 a share. It dropped in 2007 to about $16 a share, but they had done I think it was a 3-2 stock split.
Yeah.
Okay. So it dropped, but the stock had split. Okay. And it was shortly after that Disney bought them because they were turning out movies and they were about to start turning out movies. All right. So literally, these 4 guys, Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Quesada, Greg Pak, and Mark Millar, not single-handedly. I mean, obviously you got Grant Morrison doing stuff in the X-Men. You've got other writers and artists, and I'm not. I don't in any means want to short sell what everybody else did. Okay, because there's a lot of writers. And if you read the article I'm going to post by Brian Michael Bendis, he talks about, in particular, the editorial meeting where they tossed around Civil War. They tossed around ideals for a day before they came up with Civil War. And finally, they just kept, and it took them a day and a night of sleep before they came back the next morning and had the ideal for Civil War, and they all jumped on it. So it wasn't like they did it by themselves. But if you look at the sales numbers that these 4 guys posted between the Ultimate line, the Hulk, the X-Men, they drove up, and Avengers, they drove up the Marvel sales to the point it drove the stock up, that they generated the movies. Okay, but because all these things, man, all these things have already been turned into movies and are being turned into movies. And it's what drove the stock up to the point to where Disney bought it. They literally took it from bankruptcy into a money-making machine. Dude, it's a remarkable run, and it's a great read. I mean, that's the point of this podcast is it a great read? You start with Avengers Disassembled. That's a great read and great art. And David Finch is drawing. He draws Disassembled. Dude, that art in Disassembled, it's absolutely beautiful. Then you jump to New Avengers, and he draws the first 6 or 7 issues of New Avengers, and it's just amazing art. They're in his work in New Avengers. Then I think the pace kind of got to him, so they start rotating artists in and out of New Avengers, but it's never bad art, and it's just Bendis is continually creating characters. He created the Red Hood there. He created the Illuminati. He created Secret Invasion there. It's what issue is it where Elektra dies and you first learn of Secret Invasion? I think that's like issue
I don't know.
26, 27, something like that. It's immediately
Yeah.
following Civil War because it starts leading up to Secret Invasion.
Right.
I mean,
And, and the thing with Disassembled is it begins this time of awesome Marvel events one after the other. Disassembled, House of M, Civil War, Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, Secret Invasion, Dark Reign that comes after Secret Invasion, all of it, man.
It's all in this New Avengers series.
Right, and Bendis goes on to
this
write.
New Avengers series is where it all begins.
Yeah, and Bendis goes on to write Avengers for like 10 years.
Dude, he
almost.
writes this series, and because after Civil War, it becomes two Avengers books. It becomes New Avengers and Mighty Avengers.
Yeah,
The team that's registered and the team that's not, and he starts writing both of them. So he's writing both series.
yeah, and I mean he was the Avengers writer. He held the keys to the Marvel Kingdom in his hands for 10 years, and in many ways, he's off doing X-Men stuff now, and well, actually, I guess with the relaunch that we haven't seen yet in Unlimited, he's not doing that anymore. But he was driving the Marvel car for the longest time.
Yeah, until he turned the Avengers over to Hickman, and Hickman did an amazing job with it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And I actually reread some of that the other day, and I was like, wow, I forgot how good this is. In fact, I have a theory. After Infinity War, of course, in the movies, of course, the Avengers are going to defeat Thanos. Of course, they're going to save the universe. But those Infinity Stones aren't going anywhere. They're going to have to keep them out of the hands of someone like Thanos. So what do you do with them? Well, I think you form the Illuminati, and each one of them safeguards one. And then I think you can do that same story that you did in the Jonathan Hickman run of the Avengers in like a next phase of the Marvel films. It's just a theory, but you
could, or you could form the Infinity Watch.
I somehow don't see that happening.
I don't know. You got to have the Guardians of the Galaxy doing something.
I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a great read, and even I knew I was going to do this because I knew how good Avengers Assembled and New Avengers was.
Yeah.
And until I got to reading it, I forgot how good it was. And I got to reading it, and I'm like, holy cow, this is good. I mean, from the art to the characters to the controversy of Wolverine becoming an Avenger to this is the first time Spider-Man was an Avenger.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was never an Avenger until 2004. From 1963 to 2004, Spider-Man was never an Avenger.
It was the first time a lot of people had ever encountered Luke Cage.
Yeah.
And he's leading an Avengers team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is great stuff, man. It's a great read.
So it runs, if you go to your browse tab in your app, you can actually go to comic events, and it's right there at the top, Avengers Disassembled, and you can read the whole thing right there. It's got a few issues at the top and in between of the actual, the Iron Man book, the Fantastic Four, Captain America, that I don't know why they're included in that because they don't really have a whole lot to do with it, but it's there. I forget how many issues it runs through, but it's actually not a long read at all. It's no Civil War where you're reading 180 issues or whatever.
Oh no.
No, it's 5 to 10 at best.
Yeah, and then the New Avengers, I just sat down and started reading them, and they're good, man.
Yeah,
those books are just good.
It's some prime Avengers reading, and it's the Avengers as you know them. The storytelling methodology and the narrative that comes behind or that comes across in that New Avengers book is very reminiscent of how it's done in the films.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, Avengers Disassembled and then leading to New Avengers. Great stuff, man. That's why you should be reading it.
Absolutely.
If you want to email us and tell us how much you enjoyed Avengers Disassembled, please email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. You can visit our website.
www.6monthsbehind.com.
Are you going to post that Bendis interview on the website?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever I do these, I take the notes like the Bendis interview, and it'll be the podcast, and right below it will be the Bendis interview and any other relevant notes to it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
and then
the Bendis interview will be there.
Cool. And then follow us on Twitter at 6 Months Behind. And please listen to our other show, 6 Months Behind, where we discuss every week the comics of the new comics in Marvel Unlimited.
I'm trying to think if there's any rants coming this week, but I don't believe so.
Well, let's hope not.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, we will talk about, we're probably going to discuss Astonishing X-Men next time. I haven't decided yet, but that's probably what's up next. But until then, we will see you guys later.
Peace.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea they actually drove up the stock price.
Oh, that's cool.
They did, man. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at what that stock did when they were, it was, dude. I mean, you can't directly relate it to them, but,
Right. But at the same time,
but at the same time, it's the two are. It's hard to say the two aren't related.
yeah. I got a classic read too, kind of. You got Wisdom.
I'm looking for it right now.
Okay. And then, oh, there's my notes. Who are we this week?
Oh, that I don't know. All of my life, I thought air was free until I bought a bag of chips.
Man.
Hang on, let me type. Have you already posted the notes?
I just put them in, yeah.
All right, that's fine. I'll type it at the bottom. I don't know. Who do we want to be? Chris Wallace and Jay Sekulow.
No.
Okay, fine.
I don't think anybody will get it, and that's a little political. But then again, who am I to say what's political and what's not? I tend to do that crap all the time.
You're the one that went on a 5-minute rant last week.
I didn't go on a 5-minute rant. I don't think I went on any rants last week.
No, actually, you talked about politics for 5 minutes, which led me to go on a rant.
Well, we talked about that Ms. Marvel book. Oh, what happened this week in major news that wasn't political?
Somebody drove a car into a crowd of people in London.
Well, I'm trying to be lighthearted here so we can figure out who we are this week.
Oh, I thought you were being serious.
No. Me, serious.
Let's be, well, that's not lightheaded. I'd say we'd be Adam West and Burt Ward. That's not lighthearted.
No.
Although if you talk about how much sex they had, what is?
What?
So though if you talk about how much sex they had, it is.
No, I heard you. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, they had women coming and going, brother.
Oh, I thought you meant with each other, and I was getting really that. Okay, never mind.
Oh my God, man, come on. They had women climbing in their trailers.
Yeah, I believe that.
How can we be? I have a list of this for emergencies. Hold on.
I don't know.
Let's see.
If all else fails, we can beat the Mario and Luigi. E3 was this past week, so it might be appropriate.
Dang it, I just left my show notes. What good game was announced at E3?
We had that Spider-Man game. You had the new God of War game that looks really good. It was kind of a lackluster year this year. All the development companies are in between projects. Nintendo announced a open world Pokemon RPG for the Switch, but it's not going to be done until late 2018.
None of those are anything that can help us here.
There's Mario Odyssey, which is an open world Mario game. They showed a good bit of that off, and it looks cool.
Come on.
What else did they show off at E3? Sony really blew everybody out of the water.
With the PS4?
No, with all the games all the exclusive games they got coming. You got that Detroit game, which is about robots.
Okay. Let's see. We could be Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend. We could be Mick Jagger and his sidekick. We could be George Clooney and Brad Pitt. We could be Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick, Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. We could be Mike and Mike. Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson from
references.
Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson from The Wedding Crasher. Riggs and Murtaugh, Superman and Superboy.
Yeah.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt wasn't a sports reference. The Who and the Stones weren't sports references.
Okay, but
there was only they weren't, man.
Okay.
3 out of 9 were sports references.
That's a quarter.
That's a third.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I'm tired. I don't want to do math.
All right. We're Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend.
Okay, that's fine. All right. You got the intro ready to go? You ready?
I'm ready.
How long do we go on
20 minutes.
Okay, that's as long as we want to go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna count it in. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of June the 12th, 2017. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And we're here to discuss the great something.
The great comic books in the Marvel Unlimited app.
Yeah.
All of the books that came out all the comics that came out in Marvel Unlimited this week.
Yes.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? I'm Pat.
And I am Sean.
God almighty. Do it again.
You want to write it down?
No. I don't need to write it down.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 month behind podcast for the week of 6/12/17. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
We're the who of the Marvel Unlimited app world. I'm Roger Daughtry and he's Pete Townsend, and we're just out here throwing wisdom to you of the comic books that came out this week in the app. So you know what to read. You know what to read because that's who we are.
Because we're going to tell you.
We're going to tell you. We're going to tell you what's crap, what's not, and then we're going to argue about it when we disagree because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what we do. Something else we do is receive emails at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. So please email us there. You can also visit our website,
www.6monthsbehind.com, where we post the information about this and our other show, What's Next.
Yes. This week we're discussing Avengers Disassembled, which marks the beginning of the modern era of the Avengers comic books, written by Brian Michael Bendis, and maybe one of the best Avengers stories ever told.
Yes. And the Twitter feed is.
You can follow us on Twitter at 6 months behind.
There you go.
You doing all right this week, man?
I'm good. So between the two podcasts, how many intros have we screwed up? And it's not like 7 or 8 or 9. I don't even know.
I think it's like 6, but it happens.
Who's counting?
Little glance behind the curtain for everybody.
And there was a long pause because I was I couldn't remember how to do it this time. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys know, we do discuss spoilers in these books that we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss a lot of them, especially here in Clone Conspiracy, in a few minutes. So if you have not read all the comic books, please pause now, go read them, and come back. We'll still be here.
Yeah, because I'm just dying to talk to somebody about the Tony Stark AI. Okay, I want to talk to somebody about it. Just anybody.
Okay. What about it?
I mean, well, I can't talk to everybody. Maybe I could talk to you off the air, but I just want to
all right.
talk to people about it. You want to talk about it now?
Well, we can. We just gave a spoiler warning, so
How does an AI get drunk?
I'm
just dying to read these books. I'm waiting for these books to get here to figure that out.
That's a good question. I don't know how an AI gets drunk.
The AI has fallen off the wagon.
It sounds like the start to a joke.
It's not. The AI has fallen off the wagon.
Where does this happen? I don't remember this happening in any of these books this week.
It hasn't. It's coming.
Oh, it's coming. Okay, got you.
I told you I really want these books to get here.
Yeah, that whole thing for me, the Tony Stark AI and what he's doing with both the new Iron people are
Ironheart
and Victor Doom. Both series are really good, and I would like more of them, please.
Yes, I want them to get here faster.
Yes,
I'm this close to going and buying them on Comixology.
Yeah, I've considered buying them a couple times, but I decided, you know what, I can wait. It'll be all right.
It's testing my patience.
I understand. Well, we're going to jump straight into it here. We're going to start with our events as we usually do. This week, no Avengers versus X-Men, but we do have the 3rd issue of the Clone Conspiracy, so your Spider-Man books. How are you enjoying this series so far, Pat?
Better than I thought I would.
Yeah, me too.
Which is saying something.
Yeah, I agree.
And understand, and we've discussed this in the past, the Clone Saga from the mid-90s, because if you count the Ultimate, this is the 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
Literally was one of the things that drove Marvel into bankruptcy.
Well, there's also the speculation market for comic
Well,
books, but that
yes,
that too.
yes, but it, it literally drove people away from Spider-Man. I mean, people didn't buy Spider-Man for years because of that Clone Saga. So when this was announced, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And they're going to do this again, but it's not bad. There's a big reveal at the end, so and I was kind of surprised at the big reveal. So there you
go. Yeah. So starting in this issue number 3, Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen are attempting to escape the New U facility while being pursued by Doc Connors through the like the air duct system. And there's the funny little moment where Spider-Gwen shares with Peter that on her world he was the lizard, and she shares the irony with him. So evil Captain Stacy sends out all of the Jackal's henchmen searching for Peter and Gwen. Meanwhile, Kane is at the New Horizons facility working with that team on a cure for the carrion virus. And it turns out that Kane may actually be the key to the cure altogether. Meanwhile, the Jackal is busy securing cloning and resurrection contracts with various business clients regarding opening New U facilities and getting to work bringing back people from the dead. He's setting up contracts with large corporations, military, all that stuff. His goal here is to bring everyone back from the dead and I guess sell those pills that they have to take.
I don't even know. I don't know.
Yeah. Then he gets shuffled off to an even more important meeting. Back with Spidey and Gwen, they head off to the New Horizons facility to protect them from a pending attack by the Rhino. And after that, the Kingpin shows up. If you remember, the Jackal resurrected the Kingpin's wife, and he was not happy about it. He saw that as a desecration of his wife's memory and is now very unhappy with the Jackal. So we see Spider-Man and the Kingpin do something that happens every now and again. They team up for the greater good. The Kingpin provides Spider-Man with the location of this very important meeting that the Jackal's going to. And it turns out the Jackal is actually procuring another dead body for his experiments. Here's where Spider-Man confronts him in a fight. During this fight, they're talking. The Jackal thinks it's funny that Peter still thinks he's Miles Warren. He eventually takes off his mask and revealing himself not to be Miles Warren, because we thought even back in issue 1, this guy is not Miles Warren. But I didn't count on him being Ben Reilly.
No, I didn't either.
If you don't know who Ben Reilly is, he's the other Peter Parker clone. The original Peter Parker clone. And what he wants is for Peter to join up with him in order to use the New U process to eliminate death from the equation altogether. Between his process and Peter's abilities with Parker Industries, he thinks that they can bring everybody back. But we know from having seen it with Kane and other universes, this is the point where the carrion virus begins to take over, and then you just have zombies ruling the planet. And as a show of good faith to Peter, he's offering to bring back one of Peter's loved ones, who happens to be in this coffin that he's procuring at the moment. Any guesses who it might be? Peter, one of Peter Parker's loved ones who's dead, that would convince him to go to team up with Ben Reilly on this New U thing. I wonder who it might be. Man, I'm stumped. I just don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I'm actually really enjoying this. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would. I went into it optimistic because I had heard from other people that it was a really good series. It was actually really good, and don't let the stigma of the Clone Saga shape your don't let it shape your opinion of this series. So I didn't, and that's good, man. I kind of like. I don't know what Ben Riley's up to or why he's doing this, but I'm intrigued that it's him doing it.
Yeah, it's good. This is only a 5-issue limited series, so we're
Right.
over halfway through, and it's good. Yeah,
I'm enjoying this limited 5 to 6 issue run thing that they're doing with these events lately. I like Marvel events. I like Civil War. I like IVX. I like the Clones Conspiracy. I like Secret Wars. But I tell you what, man, sometimes when I think the real problem with event fatigue that people have is that it drags on forever. You have these 7, 8, 9, 10 issue series coming out once a month, twice a month if you're lucky, and it just seems to take forever.
yeah. It's some of the ones like this and like Pleasant Hill that were more condensed. I think Pleasant Hill was like an opening issue, 3 months of Avengers books, and then a closing issue.
Yeah, and even Death of X, which was 4 issues. Just
Yeah,
tell me a concise story in 4 to 6 issues, and I think that's how you beat event fatigue while still having events.
yeah, and even IVX isn't that long. I think it's only 6 issues.
Yeah,
8. I think it's 6.
6 is really, and I understand there's going to be times where you want to do a big, huge 12 issue crossover all the books thing, but that doesn't need to be every single summer. You
But
don't need a Secret Wars level event every year.
But here's the thing: 12 or 8 or 10 isn't that long if you ship it on time.
Well, that too. But
Yeah.
still, I like this, this 3 to 5 to occasionally 6 issue stories that we're getting.
Yeah.
It works.
Yes. Yeah. So next we have Spider-Man 2099. Now, you and I have been critiquing each other, and you've been critiquing me on my recaps. Okay. So I took notes on this one. I didn't realize I was doing Deadpool, so I got to wing Deadpool in a few minutes. I somehow missed it on the list. I don't know how I did. I looked at the list like 6 times, missed Deadpool. That's fine. I enjoyed Deadpool, so I glanced at it. I can make it up. Honest to goodness, I read this Deadpool or excuse me, the Spider-Man 2099 number 18 twice. I love Peter David, but I'm like, okay, what's this person's name? What's that person's name? And I'm flipping through pages and I can't find their name and I don't know who they are. And I'm like,
I was reading
what's happening here?
Yeah, this story has gotten. There's too many moving parts in this story.
It
has to do with Tempest. It has to do with the future Captain America, 2099 Captain America.
Yeah, let me recap it real quick. And along the way, I'm gonna I actually have question marks in my notes because I'm like, who is that? So we've got, and it's pretty funny because it opens with Spidey and Captain America 2099 and Elektra. They've got a fist operative that they're questioning, and they're holding him upside down. And they're discussing whether or not it's torture and what Elektra is or isn't doing and what Elektra is or isn't doing. And it's pretty funny. Turns out he's from 2099 also, and he came back with Sinister Six. And that's when Miguel O'Hara determines that, the Sinister Six are back in 2016 or 2017 or whatever year it is. And, he's got a real problem because they all came back to the present time. Then he determines that they're all at the expo in Chicago, so they head there. So Raul and Jasmine, who apparently work for Parker Industries, are there at the expo, and they're attacked by this gold woman who I've never seen before, and I'm not sure who she is. Do you know who she is?
Not a clue.
Thought it was just me. Okay, thought it was just me. Don't have an idea who she is.
I went back and read 3 or 4 previous issues, trying to see if she showed up somewhere that I just missed her. No.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Then Tempest wakes up. Tempest asks, "Is the baby fine?" I'm like, do I remember Tempest being pregnant?
Tempest
Do you
never had a
remember?
baby. No.
Do you remember Tempest being pregnant?
Unless it happened in a previous series that I didn't read. No.
Okay, I didn't either. Well, the baby's fine, but she can't walk. Okay, so apparently we'll get back. Okay, that's fine. Baby's fine, but she can't walk. Then we go back to the expo, and the gold lady, which is all I know to call her, is giving out drinks. And then Raul freaks out in the hospital, and then the gold lady is praying, and then the heroes get to the expo, and everyone's in the process of turning into zombies because of whatever the gold lady gave out and prayed to. I don't know who the gold lady is. I don't know what she has to do with the secret, with Sinister Six. I don't know what she has to do with Fist. I don't know what she has to do with Tempest being in the hospital, being pregnant. I don't know how it all leaks together, but hey, Elektra's there, and Spidey's there, and Captain 2099's there. It's going to be a big fight scene with a bunch of zombies because we're heading to Monsters Unleashed, so we got to have zombies.
Yeah, and I assume she's some sort of Fist operative, but I don't. There's so many lines crossing in this series that I can't keep it straight anymore.
Dude.
And you've got the Sinister Six from 2099 who are actually from an alternate 2099 who are now here in the present. And I'm good. We'll discuss this Avengers here in just a second. I'm good at keeping track of multiple timelines intersecting with one another. And I don't know what's going on in this book.
Dude, Peter David had a classic run on Hulk that lasted, I don't even know, years, 5 years, 7 years. Yeah, he created several classic Hulk characters. Mr. Fix-It. What's the old guy that was running during Secret Wars, and now he's in the present. The old Hulk, the Great Hulk, Maestro. He created the Maestro. Dude, I mean, he had a great run on the Hulk. He had a great run on Captain Marvel, which lasted about 3 years. The male Captain Marvel, the Kree Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Marvel. I don't know.
But dude, this just ain't working, man. This isn't working.
No, it's really not. And as much as I like Spider-Man 2099, as much as I like Peter David, it might be time to give this one the axe.
Yeah, this isn't
it's not getting any better.
No.
Yeah, and I hate that.
Yeah, I do too.
We don't have any X-Men books this week. The singular Avengers book that we had, Avengers #2, is awesome. I texted you earlier about it this week, telling you that I'm just super into this book. Mark Waid is writing it. Mike Del Mundo is doing the art. If you remember, Mike Del Mundo was the same guy doing the Weird World art when that was a thing, which I still miss deeply in my soul.
Well, you're going to get a Monsters Unleashed, so maybe that'll help.
No, because it's not Weird World.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm absolutely loving this book. We have often said before that these teams in these books are at their best when they rely heavily on their roots. Much like that Ultron story in New Avengers recently, this is another one of those where you take a classic Avengers villain and do something really cool with him. So, for those who don't remember, Kang messed with the Vision some time ago. The Vision retaliated by stealing baby Kang from his crib and hiding him away in a place that the Vision then erased from his own memory. Pardon me. So, as a counter retaliation, Kang has reached through time and killed the Avengers as children. So now they're stuck in this state of non-existence, in this limbo area. They've been saved from being erased from time by yet another future version of Kang, a good version of Kang. He explains that he's a future version of Kang that has seen what a future looks like under the rule of a conqueror, and now he intends to help the Avengers here. He reveals that Kang Prime has been feeding on time paradoxes which is imprisoning yet more versions of Kang and threatening to shatter time. Time always seems to be in peril these days. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
The X-Men are messing with time and have rendered it irreparable. Kang's doing it here. The Avengers have done it a little bit. Just time is always the victim. So the cause of this paradox, of course, is Vision. When he stole the baby and hid him away, that's what's caused these paradoxes, and that's what Kang's fighting against. However, the Avengers can't leave this limbo that they're in because they risk being erased from time. So their fate hangs in the balance of the last remaining Avenger, Hercules. So you're a fan of Hercules. Tell us what we last saw Herc doing.
Are we talking about which time are we talking about?
Just recently. What's Herc been up to?
Oh, dude, Herc's been saving the world, man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just saying, he went through a rough patch.
He's been trying to redeem himself. He's been on a path to redemption to restore himself from being a laughingstock, let me choose the correct words here.
A liability.
Okay, I was going to use drunk whoremonger, but a liability to being the hero that he wants to be.
Right. Well, I mean, at one point in time, they weren't including Hercules on Avengers teams because he was a liability to the team.
Yeah,
to the stability of the team.
Yes. Literally during the last crisis, they were like, don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah, exactly. So now Hercules has to take on Kang by himself. Luckily, he's able to save the baby Kang and brings the Avengers back into reality, where they promptly pick up the fight with Kang. Vision grabs the baby and shoves him into the Wasp's arms during this fight and tells her to return him to his proper timeline in order to set time straight, to fix this issue. So now the Wasp is hurtling through the time stream alone, trying to take the baby Kang back to where he's supposed to be. Which, by the way, I forget her name, but this Wasp is Hank Pym's stepdaughter, not Janet Van Den.
Is it Nadia?
Nadia, that's it. Nadia. I wanted to say Natalie, but and she's new to this whole Avengers thing. This is like, her first mission with them, I think.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. I really enjoy this book. I really enjoy the art on this book. I like Kang anyway. This book is really ramping up Kang's influence on time within the Marvel Universe. I mean, at this point, in the way he's described here, he's almost reached this like cosmic level entity that exists through time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how you felt about this issue, but it
was good.
I really enjoyed it. I liked it a whole lot.
Yeah. And Herc's got a great line in there too, where Kang tries to age him 100 years to slow him down, and Herc's like, dude, I'm from Olympus. 100 years is nothing.
Yeah, I have centuries to spare. When he literally slaps Kang.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Like I said, Mark Waid writing it, Mike Del Mundo doing the art. The cover is cool. I'm not sure who did the cover. It might be Mike Del Mundo that did the cover, but yeah, dude, I'm so into this Avengers series right now.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that was the only Avengers book we had this week.
Yep. That brings us to the main 616 universe and Nova #1. I have a mixed emotions about this book.
Did you? I enjoyed it. It was good. For someone who's not a Nova fan, I enjoyed it.
It opens with Rich Rider at home with his mom, and he's talking to her. The problem is Rich Rider doesn't seem to be all mentally there.
Yeah. For those who may not remember, Rich Rider came back to life at the end of the last Nova series.
Yes, the original Nova, the true Nova, not Sam Alexander for all you purists out there. Then we switch to Sam Alexander, who's off fighting aliens who are attacking Ego, the planet, which is actually kind of comical. Then for reasons I don't understand, because this issue is rocking along at a great pace. We have to go to Sam's high school and get high school drama and him hitting on some girl and his friends making fun of him for it and him not having pants to wear to school. And
Well,
I don't know. I don't.
He gets back to Earth in time for school, takes his helmet off, which, his Nova uniform disappears, and he realizes he didn't put on his pants. And the new girl at school, who he's got a thing for, sees him, and it's embarrassing. And later at school, he walks up to her and tries to just talk to her, and just makes it worse.
Why do I care?
Because you don't like this stuff because you're a bitter old man. You don't remember what it's like to be a teenager.
Of course I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do. You've got this great story going. Then Rich puts the helmet on and tries to be Nova and fly, and it doesn't work. And there's actually some really funky art there at the end. And I think the art's trying to tell us something, but I can't figure out what the art's trying to tell us. I just don't know why you needed that teenage Sam Alexander stuff there.
Because he's a teenager. And he has teenage problems.
I wish we were on YouTube so people could see my face. I don't care.
I know you don't, but that's just part of it, man. Sorry.
I just... If I were paying for this book, I would be so torn because I would want to see Richard Rider so bad, and I would want to rip those pages out of the book.
Okay. You're going to get to see plenty of Richard Rider in the next issues.
I'm hoping.
In fact, I think you're going to see lots of Richard Rider from here on out.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to Unworthy Thor #2, which actually... I picked up all of the Unworthy Thor stuff in the Amazon sale a couple weeks ago, and I actually have read the whole thing. And it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, man. I bought it on the shelf weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Months ago. It's great stuff, man.
So Odin's son and Beta Ray Bill meet on the moon where they're discussing the other hammer. The one that wants... there's another Mjolnir out there. It belonged to another Thor. Now, you and I, as the reader, we know this is the hammer that belonged to Ultimate Thor. They don't really know that. So they decide to go off looking for it. However, they're both captured by the Collector, who is capitalizing on a weakened Odin's son in order to add him to his collection, and also some other motivations. So after this horrible nightmare where he gets crushed to death under 1,000 Mjolnirs, Odin's son wakes up in prison. It turns out Tavon possesses the hammer that they're looking for, or that they think they're looking for, the Ultimate Thor's hammer. Or at least he possesses the ground it's sitting on. He's actually taken all of old Asgard and added it to his collection. Which, interestingly enough, this actually answers that age-old question of, can an elevator lift Thor's hammer? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
The idea that if you put if you put Mjolnir in an elevator, will the elevator be able to lift it? The answer is yes, because it's not a soul possessing human being. It's just an inanimate object. If the Collector can lift the ground that the hammer sits on, then yes, an elevator can lift the hammer.
I believe the ladies sat around arguing it one night on The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yes.
So the Collector wants Odin's son to show him how to lift the hammer, because he has to have the hammer, because it's special, because he's the Collector. Anyway, and he actually threatens Odin's son under duress, threatening to kill the last living being of this alien race. So Odin's son tries to explain that there's no secret to it at all. It's that he must be worthy. And he tries to explain that to the Collector. The Collector doesn't like that answer very much, and things get pretty nasty pretty quick. And elsewhere, Thanos is plotting. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say about it. Yes, but we see his machinations and the last like 2 pages of this issue. I'm not going to give them away, but
there you go.
Good stuff.
Yep. That brings us to Deadpool 23. 23.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good because last issue you had Deadpool dealing with the virus that he was infected with that infected his family. This issue, they're at a Shield research facility in New Jersey, and Agent Preston, who turns out to be an LMD, surprisingly enough, which is one of Deadpool's ex-wives, I believe, or at least one of his baby mamas, is not happy that her child is infected. And she goes to find Deadpool, and we get the serious, depressed Deadpool, and they're looking for a way to disinfect him. And did you read this?
No.
Well, it's going to take several days for the virus to get out of him. So they're discussing ways to get the virus out of him. And then they discuss temperatures that viruses melt at. And turns out, you can burn a virus out of something at a boiling point. So they take Deadpool and stick him in a crematorium and burn the virus out of him. Yeah, let's think about that a moment and just pause, and there are pictures.
Sounds violent.
Yeah, they just burn him up a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, because he's Deadpool, he comes back to life. And at that point, he and Agent Preston decide to go looking for Madcap or anyone who knows who sold the virus to Madcap. And to say they're not in a good mood would be an understatement. And when they get to these places, Hydra hangouts, supervillain hangouts, and they start questioning people, they think that Deadpool's the one they need to be worried about. And he's like, no, not really. you really? I'm not really the one you need to worry about. And they spend just the next few pages just really kind of decimating people. Just really. Yeah. This is a not for kids issue. Until they just run out of options and realize they don't know where Madcap is and they don't know how to destroy the virus. So Deadpool makes a phone call to a time traveler that he knows. And you think it's to Cable, but it turns out it's not. It's to Strife. And if you don't know who Strife is a very old Rob Liefeld created villain from the old X-Force days that is a clone of Nathan Summers, an exact clone of Nathan Summers, who also time travels, who is Nathan Summers' arch enemy that Deadpool called in a favor for to travel backwards in time to prevent himself from getting the virus to prevent this from happening. Problem is, when all this is done, he's going to owe Strife a favor.
Oh, that should work out real well.
Yeah. That's how this issue ends.
Fun stuff.
It's a good issue. It really is.
Yeah, sounds good. Anytime you start dealing with the Madcap stuff, it gets interesting.
Yeah, and Jerry Dugan's doing a great job writing this.
Cool.
And I was really, really surprised to see Strife on the last page.
I like Strife. He's one of the villains that I like. He's a good X-Men villain. Yeah,
I was just, I don't know where they're going with that or if they're going anywhere with it anytime soon. But you just really expect to see Cable show up. And when it's Strife, I was really surprised to see him on that last panel.
Right.
So, yeah, good issue.
Cool. Yeah, worth a read if you're a Deadpool fan.
There you
go. Moving on to Champions number 3.
Or if you're not a Deadpool fan, you get to see him baked alive a few times.
That too, yeah. Nothing like flambéed Wade Wilson.
There you go.
Yeah. So Champions number 3, we start out the same way we ended the last issue, which is the team discovering Hulk and Viv making out in the woods. Turns out it's just a harmless little experiment. Both of them being scientists, decided to see what would happen if they made out a little. And
it is for Viv. It broke Amadeus Cho's heart, man. Come on.
Viv was not impressed. No. And Amadeus Cho plays it off, but as we see through the little emotes in the book, he's kind of sad. Then they fly off to Sharzad, which is a Middle Eastern country ruled by men who are oppressing the education of women. That's the whole issue. I don't think this is a real country. Along the way, they have this argument over who's the team leader. And everybody says it should be Cyclops, and they're all like, he's from the 60s. I don't know about that. And there's a whole... This is going to be, I think, a running gag through the next couple of issues is who's team leader. So they encounter a group of terrorists harassing a group of girls who are students and rescue them. They deal with the terrorists pretty quickly. So together with the students, the champions come up with a plan that will strike back against the terrorists while also avoiding revealing the presence of the champions in this country, while in an effort to avoid an international incident. Because, having a bunch of rogue teenage Avengers take out a group of people in a tumultuous Middle Eastern country is, not the kind of briefing the president wants on a Monday morning.
Sure.
Right. So along the way, they inspire the girls to stand up for themselves too. They're able to take out the terrorists, but they also the students are also driven to stand up for themselves. It's all very nice and it's a happy ending. So
Yes.
Back in the Quinjet, they've saved the day, but trouble isn't far behind at all. In fact, it's coming up on them pretty quickly. So, yeah, it was all right.
There you go.
If you don't like the teenage stuff like Pat, skip it. If you do, or if you just like these characters,
well,
yeah, go with it.
Here's the thing. It was teenage stuff, but there was action and they were doing something. Okay, when you just got Sam Alexander just flirting with some girl at school and not wearing his pants for pages, okay, and there's no action, there's no character development, there's no nothing. See, there's a difference there.
Okay. If you say so.
We've been arguing this for a year and a half now.
I just think you don't like the Teenage Avengers thing.
Dude, I like I'm enjoying the Champions. I enjoyed that issue.
Okay, cool.
I didn't enjoy Sam Alexander. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed Sam Alexander in this.
Did you enjoy Moon Knight #9?
Dude, that was a book.
Yeah, this is really where things start to make a little more sense if you've been reading for the last 8 issues.
He in the last issue, all of the variations of Mark Spector's personality, which at this point are Stephen Grant, Moon Knight, and a space pilot, raced out a door to find Mark Spector, which is, of course, if you're Stephen Grant, you're racing out the door to find yourself standing there. And he begins with confronting all 3 aspects of his personality and explaining to him that they're not real, and the whole thing that they're just not real. And I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this.
It's really difficult to explain if you haven't read the comic itself.
Yeah, in the first 2, the space pilot and Moon Knight go pretty quick, okay? Because they're like, okay, we're figments of your imagination, not a problem. You're crazy. They go pretty quick, and they just kind of disappear. And the Stephen Grant figment of his personality runs and hides. And that's where the story gets good, because Mark Spector has to chase him down and explain to him that he's not real. And Mark Spector made him up when he was a kid to deal with situations that he didn't want to confront. And on page 15, we actually learn that Mark, and the wording here is kind of tricky. I think he was in the hospital he words it like he either was or still is in the hospital, and he's playing with the sand, so you can't tell if he's outside the hospital or is in the hospital. But basically, he's been put in the hospital for being insane. Okay, he has lost his ability to deal with these multiple personalities, and he's been locked away. And we know from reading this Nick Fury book back during Civil War that that's where he is. Okay, that he's been locked up. All right, so
it turns out he's never actually left the facility this whole time.
I don't. Well, on the last page, finally he convinces the last personality, which is Stephen Grant, to come back into himself. So the last personality goes away. He puts on the Mr. Knight mask, and he goes back to the hospital to fight Khonshu. Khonshu, the moon god. I knew I'd get it wrong. The moon god. And you don't understand if he's going. I don't understand. And I read it twice.
If this is actually happening or if this is all taking place in his mind.
Yeah, you don't really understand. If he's in the hospital, whatever happens, he's going to face Khonshu, the moon god.
Right, yes.
Because what is real is however long ago he was in that pyramid and he got injured, he really did meet Khonshu, and he really did have problems there. And there really was a fight, and he really his mind problems got worse after that point.
Right.
Yeah. And that's basically the last demon in his head that he has to confront at this point.
Right. So if he confronts Khonshu and defeats him, is he no longer Moon Knight?
Dude, you're asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just speculating.
Because the question has always been, does Khonshu give him his powers to begin with? Or is he simply like Batman? Does he do it in himself and
give credit to Khonshu?
Yeah, and give credit to Khonshu. Is it his wealth that allows him to buy tools and weapons and helicopters that allow him to do these things? And, Khonshu's just in his head.
Yes, the thing about this Moon Knight thing in this whole series and the character itself is you're never quite sure what's what.
And it's been that way since the very beginning. Is you've never really understood if Khonshu was real or if he was just in Mark Spector's head.
Yeah.
That no one's ever understood it. And I think in reality, I think it's varied from writer to writer. I think depending on who was writing the book at the time, he was either a rich Batman or Khonshu was real, depending on who was writing the book at the time.
Which, in my opinion, helps the narrative of you never know what's real and what's not when it comes to Moon Knight.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, good stuff.
This is a great read. Great
probably
read.
Some of the best Moon Knight writing ever. Maybe. I don't know. I'd be willing to say that.
Bendis had that run a couple of years ago, and that was probably the best ever until this. And at this point, this is probably better than that Bendis run.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch number 13. So Wanda and Agatha have ventured to the Witch's Road again. And whatever force or entity that's been opposing Wanda, it's been opposing her efforts, has been along the way sending snares and traps and obstacles along the way. And it's really starting to take a toll on Wanda. They keep hammering this narrative of, magic has a cost. You're seeing it here. You're seeing it in the Doctor Strange books. Magic has a cost, and it's literally aging Wanda. She's able to keep up her appearance through magic, but she looks like an old woman. So her mother appears to her very briefly and warns her of this impending attack. So now Wanda must fight off an awful, twisted version of all the people that she's loved. and they're not real, but they seem very real to Wanda. And Wanda is forced to face her past and in the same moment decide how she wants to continue in the future. I'm not really going to spoil that fight because you really just have to read it. It's really good character development for Wanda Maximoff. It's just better to read it than try to describe what happens next. But it's a pretty serious test for Wanda, and now she has to prepare herself for what comes next now that she's reached the end of the Witch's Road. Good issue, not the best issue of the series. I've really enjoyed this whole series. This was probably a little, I don't know. You have to get the character from one place to another, and that's what they were doing in this issue. So, and I understand that wasn't the most exciting of the issues.
Yeah, nah, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't enjoy it either. And I've really enjoyed this series. I didn't enjoy this issue.
Oh, I mean, it was fine. It just wasn't the best issue in the series. Right. Which, you've done 13 issues so far, and you've had one issue that is a little lackluster. I'm not going to fault it too hard for that.
There you go.
Plus, I imagine the next couple issues are going to be really good based on what we saw at the end of the book.
Right. All new Wolverine number 15.
Was this good? I hope it was good because I couldn't read it. So
it was mediocre.
For those who may have listened in previous episodes, I have occasionally had this problem where I'll go to open a comic book and nothing happens. I just get that little loading circle, and nothing ever happens. And I've reached out to Marvel support about it. They haven't really been able to help me. When they did the most recent update of the app, I didn't have the issue for probably 4 or 5 weeks, and I thought maybe it had been resolved. And this week I was proven wrong.
And you can't open it on anything. You can't open it on your PC. You can't open it on your tablet, on your phone, on anything.
I hate reading Marvel Unlimited comics on the browser. That's another problem with Marvel Unlimited is that browser experience should be really good. There's no reason it shouldn't be, and it sucks. Can't even open it in the browser, which makes me think it's an issue directly related to me, my account. And I don't know. And what I'm really hoping doesn't happen is it becomes an issue with All New Wolverine, where just every week I can't open All New Wolverine, and I just lose track of where I was in the series. I'll be really upset.
Well, yeah.
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 Anyway, tell us about it.
Well, they begin as they're almost in Madripoor. Is that how you pronounce it? Yes. Madripoor. Mm-hmm. And Laura overhears Captain Ash planning to betray her. Laura Kinney, Wolverine, of course. As she does this, she and Captain Ash struggle, and they fight. She throws Captain Ash overboard. She and her sister gets wandering around the ship, her clone sister, of course, because, hey, it's a comic book. And they find some kids in a cargo hold. About that time, the helicopters arrive to take possession of Laura and a villain named Roughhouse, who I've never heard of before, and B'Elanna. Now, B'Elanna was this blonde chick with a mask on. Is that her other sister?
I believe so. If you remember, there was all the clones. Right. All of them died except Gabby and this one other. And I think that's who's plotting against her here.
Okay. Anyway, so they land on the ship, and they basically make a deal, which is if Laura turns herself in, all the kids will be sent back to America and be returned to their parents. So Laura turns herself in, and about that time, Captain Ash climbs back up on the deck from where Laura threw her overboard, and B'Elanna just puts a bullet in her head and throws her back overboard, turns to the first mate and says, "Am I going to have any problems with you returning your kids to America?" The first mate's like, "Nope, not a single problem." They take possession of Laura, who returns her to the Weapon X program, where she immediately begins getting beat up and tortured on the last page, and that's the end of the issue. It was all right. Wasn't great. It's all right.
Well, I mean, they brought her back to the Weapon X program, so
Yeah.
that's something.
Yeah, it was.
Now, I
It
wondered
was
if that was the case, if that's who these people were working for.
right. It wasn't great. It was okay.
Well, hopefully, I'll be able to read the next issue because it sounds like it might be getting good.
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay, cool. Moving on to our Star Wars books, only one this week, but it was one that I've been looking forward to. The new Dr. Aphra series, who is a character that they introduced in the last Darth Vader series that I really enjoyed. She was a cool character.
I did too, and this was a good book.
Yeah. So, having successfully faked her death and escaped from Darth Vader, Aphra is back to stealing historical artifacts and selling them to shady gangsters across the galaxy. Which seems to be mundane work considering what she was doing with Darth Vader. She runs into one such gangster who she owes money to, and after some fast talking and a Wookiee beatdown, she manages to convince him to defer her payments until she can sell some items. So back on Araco Prime, which is seems to be some sort of archaeological training school thing. I don't really know. She learns that her credentials as a doctor have been revoked, and that means she can't sell her artifacts, and now she's not going to be able to pay this gangster off. It doesn't really matter as we see another sequence with 000, but nonetheless, she's upset about it and is trying to find out why she's no longer a doctor, which is when her father shows up. Who's her father? Well, we don't know. Some guy. Mr. Aphra. We also have this B story where a young pre-Dr. Aphra has a confrontation with one of her teachers that's pretty neat.
That's a pretty good story, too.
Yeah, it kind of shows off some of the... You see her as a younger version of herself, and you realize she's been cunning and cutthroat kind of her whole life. That's just who she is.
Yeah.
And this teacher doesn't like her and intends to sabotage her efforts at becoming a doctor, and Aphra doesn't take that line down at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Good first issue. Solid first issue.
It was.
Yeah. So, Pat, what was your favorite book this week?
It's a toss-up between Dr. Aphra and Moon Knight #9, but I'm going to go with Moon Knight #9. And okay, Avengers #2 came in close also, but Moon Knight #9, it was good, man.
Yeah. Avengers #2 was my favorite, hands down. Now, Moon Knight #9 was a close second, but Avengers #2 was just far and away the best thing I read all week. And granted, we didn't have a whole lot to read. It was a pretty light week, so.
It was a very light week.
Yeah, it was 11 comic books.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
And they're dumping more Alpha Flight and Marvel Man books. I don't even know what this Marvel Man book is. They're dumping more of the John Byrne Alpha Flight series in there, which is...
At least it's good Alpha Flight.
It's good Alpha Flight. Anytime I get good Alpha Flight, I'm all in.
There's plenty of bad Alpha Flight stuff out there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Marvel Man is some Marvel Timely Comics dude from the late 50s, early 60s that I don't know anything about. But if you're into that, cool.
Whatever.
Yeah. There was a Kung Fu series that I didn't know anything about until a couple weeks ago, and I found out that there's a huge fan base for it. So what do I know?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So since we're short on actual comic books this week, I actually have 2 classic reads for you this week. The first, I think it's time to revisit Jason Aaron's first run on Thor from 2012. And it starts in the series Thor God of Thunder #1, which you can find if you just go to Browse Series, go down to the T section. It's Thor, God of Thunder, and it'll be 2012 will be the year next to it. This series is 25 issues, and the series has been it's been rolled into Mighty Thor and all this other stuff for a while. It's been relaunched and renumbered several times, but Jason Aaron's actually been writing it since this series. He's continuing to write it and will probably continue to write Thor for a while. But this is where he starts. And somebody told me recently, it might have been you, that if you think of Jason Aaron's run on Thor not as just a long run on a comic book, but as a story, as a large epic story that has multiple parts to it, much like the Odyssey or the Iliad. Think of it as those classical epic sagas. That's what this Jason Aaron run on Mighty Thor will be when it finally wraps up. When that'll be, I don't know.
It was me, and I read it somewhere.
Yeah,
I wish I could credit the author, but I don't remember.
if you've read Unworthy Thor, you really start to see how this is coming together and how all the different parts and sagas within this, all the different stories in this saga relate to one another. So for now, we're just going to focus on God of Thunder number 1 through 12 because that's the opening story. Thor runs into through a series of events. Thor runs into the God Butcher, who is literally killing gods and deities from across the entire universe. I mean, he's going to these places where, gods are literally being butchered, and he runs into this God Butcher whose whole motivation is to kill all the gods that have ever existed across time and space, because in his mind, gods are no more worthy than the people that worship them. And you have Jason Aaron writing this, who's an excellent writer. Esad Ribic is doing the art, who you remember from Secret Wars. It's really good art in these first 12 issues. When you get to the 12th issue, the first story arc with the God Butcher actually wraps up in issue 11. But issue number 12 is where Thor goes back to Earth. And it's a lot of him just visiting his friends. But it also kicks off the Jane Foster story arc that we've been in for a while. Introduces Jane Foster again and what's going on with her. And it's not too, I think it's after number 25, the series gets relaunched as Mighty Thor, and Jane Foster becomes Thor. Anyway, it's a really good series. And if you're enjoying Unworthy Thor and want to know a little bit more about what might be going on in that series, this is a good time to go back and reread this early Thor God of Thunder stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And another one, if you look at the very top of your app, there's a spotlight for Black Panther. The trailer for the movie came out, 2-3 weeks ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, looks awesome. I was already interested in the movie, but once I saw the trailer, I was like, holy cow, this looks awesome. I gotta see this. So this is kind of a highlight of who the Black Panther is, a nice little introduction. You get his first appearance in Fantastic Four number 52. You see where he becomes an Avenger in Avengers number 53. Fighting the Grim Reaper, if I remember. You see some of his solo stuff. You see his Marvel Knight series from the late 90s. There's another Black Panther series from like 2005 where John Romita Jr. is doing it. And that series is a little bit, it's kind of a revamping of the Black Panther. They don't change a whole lot, but they kind of just modernize him a little bit. Of course, there's the whole stuff with the Illuminati in New Avengers from 2013. That whole Jonathan Hickman run, which I really enjoyed the Black Panther in that in those stories. And then you get the Black Panther number 1 from most recently, A Nation Under Our Feet, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, the Black Panther series that you and I have been raving about for the last however many weeks. Yeah, good stuff. So if you saw that Black Panther trailer and it's intrigued you, that's a good place to go to get kind of a what would you call it, a crash course in Black Panther.
You beat me to it.
Yeah. That's pretty much it this week. We didn't have a ton of books, but what we did have, I didn't think there was any bad books this week.
No, there wasn't.
Spider-Man 2099 wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. I've seen worse.
Oh, I've seen much worse.
Yeah, absolutely. So please be sure to check out our other podcast, What's Next. We're discussing Avengers Disassembled this week, which will probably kick off kind of a revisiting of a bunch of these modern Avengers and X-Men events that have come in the last 10 or 15 years. If you have any opinions about what you think of the Black Panther or Jason Aaron's run on Thor, please email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Also visit the website,
www.6monthsbehind.com.
and you can find us on Twitter at 6monthsbehind. That's at 6monthsbehind. Pat, before we go, do you have any wisdom for our true believers?
All my life, I thought air was free until I bought a bag of potato chips.
That is so true. I've never paid more for air in my entire life.
There you go.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Peace.